My name is Dan Bentz with Universal Mind. I'm the Director of Solution Strategy, and we do a lot of digital, mobile, strategic items for companies of all sizes, all industries across the board. What I'm going to talk about today, the title of it is Contextually Interconnected Experiences, which can also be defined as seeing if your plans are flexible and current in order to keep up your users or swim in the interconnected, fast-moving, exponentially increasing river called digital change. Because if you don't, and your plans aren't flexible and current, they can get rather scary. But that title was too long to fit inside of there, so I decided to just call it Contextually Interconnected Experiences. And we'll see why in a moment. Experiences aren't new. They've been around for a long time. They've always been around, as a matter of fact. It's nothing that is surprising or scary or anything like that. However, what it is it's becoming focused. And companies are focusing on it. Organizations are focusing on it. Customers are focusing on it. And that's where the tricky piece comes in. Organizations are working hard and undergoing a lot of different kind of efforts in order to make experiences stand out. Experiences mean something across different platforms, across different areas. And what we can talk about in this case as we move experiences up there is they look for experiences at home and at work and in their cars and stores, their child's daycare, even with dogs sometimes. It's all over the place. What does an experience mean? Where's it at? And what it can mean to the customer. And if you look here, customers are there, and the end users, they're growing, and they have these kind of things. But it's not just them. It's also you. And not just you as a customer and you as an experiencer, but you as a person who might be in charge of some of the experiences that are happening inside of here. And it's growing a little bit. As a matter of fact, 85% of the users that actually do something from a mobile standpoint and purchase from a mobile standpoint expect an equal to or greater than experience than what they get on a laptop or a desktop. That's a little scary sometimes. If you haven't gone down this path, that can be extremely intimidating. So the question is, why is that? Why is that right there? And I would venture to say, as we move this around a little bit, and move my slides, the embodiment of a system. It may seem like a little difficult, but it's always been around. Physical architecture, behavioral architecture, organizational architecture, and data architecture. Think of a king and a castle and scrolls. That's that type of architecture. Now think of data architecture now being digital and have it in your hands. And physical architecture being not just a workplace anymore, but any place that you're outside, any place, whether you're at a store, any type of devices that may be out there. It's now more than ever, the data is becoming more important because it is digital as we see it move along. So if you add these three up and you look at what it gives you, you get something called Anywhere Digital. And that's not just, hey, we can be digital anywhere we want. But that means that as a customer expects something when they're out and about, when they're at a workplace, when they're at home, when they're in a car, it can be digital. And they expect it to be digital. They also want to sit there and say, it's not just a matter of getting the data to me. It's understanding contextually what I need before I even know I need it. When I walk into a store, it should recognize I'm at the store. It should recognize what's there. What should it offer to me? If I'm sitting there scanning something at Barnes & Noble to find the price of a book that I can scan on Amazon and see what the price is, maybe Barnes & Noble should kind of know that if I let them and offer me some kind of coupon or something to make the purchase there. So how does Anywhere Digital impact you? It's invisible to the user. You don't see it. It's from Joe Johnson's notes, my good friend here. It's delivering when it's needed, not when you determine to show it. That's what contextual is on that piece. It has to be just right. Love the Goldilocks principle. Now, you're not going to get bears and porridge and all that kind of stuff. But if you mess it up, you'll lose business. If you get it right, you'll gain business. You'll increase ROI. You'll get customer retention. It drives those kind of things. If you don't know what your user wants, you're behind. Because everything's changed. The user knows what they want in a lot of cases. And they're not behind. It's what they expect. It's what they're looking for. And it's not just one device. It's interconnected. If I have it on my TV at home, if I have it on my iPod device, if I have it on my laptop, I want it on my iPad, I also want it on my iPhone. And I also want to recognize me if I go into a store that has those kind of things and I can interact with it. That's where we're heading, and it's heading very quickly. The contextual interconnected piece can look like this. On the left, we see an iPad table. Matter of fact, it's in our booth 4. You can go and play with it, touch it, play around with it, talk to Joe here about all the different possibilities that could exist using an iPad table and what it could mean inside of an organization. On the right-hand side, you see Passbook. And you may sit there and think, well, is that really something like this? Yes, it is. And they're just now scratching the surface on part of this. That could even have the piece where you walk in and identify where you're at and what you're doing and what you can get from them from a standpoint of what's available. There's a lot of possibilities out there, and it's based on the habits of what the customers look for and what they expect and need. So the question is, what have you done about it? Have you gone very far? Have you sat there and said, we know that customers are important. Let's go understand the customers. Let's document it. Let's spread it to the organization. Let's find out what those customers are actually asking for and how does it affect our organization. So if we look at what you can actually do, I'll ask, have you done some of these? Customer touch points. Very simple kind of basic piece. What has the customer done? Have you gone out and seen where they're engaging? Not just with you, but observing the unknown observable, as Xerox used to call it, is like knowing exactly where they're doing something that they don't even know they're doing. Have you captured those? And user need studies. You can capture all this and just bring it together and give it inside the organization and even get to people who help your organization. How about atomic models? Atomic models are a way to visually highlight what your organization is designed like that is touching those customer touch points. It does it in certain scales and certain levels inside of there. It's a very powerful visual tool. And if you connect the different atomic pieces inside that atomic model, you can get what's called a design experience organization that sits there and says, where do we design an organization to meet the experiences of our customers? A lot of places haven't done this. How about customer atlases and customer journey maps? Journey maps sit up inside of atlases. You can have one atlas with multiple journey maps inside of it, just like you have the map of the United States and you have multiple states inside of it. Organizing your company and your journeys and the things the customer does into atlases and then putting maps inside of there and seeing literally what they do, literally going into the field and walking with them, getting your hands dirty. That's the kind of stuff that you need to do if you really want to understand your customer's perspective. Digital strategy roadmap. How do you know where you're going? Some people will do something called deliberate strategy. We're in strategic planning mode. We're in budget season. We do this from July to September or something, and we plan it, put it out there. Here's our stuff for the next year, and we'll see you next year, and we start to put all the projects again together. That has a very high rate of failure. I think Forrester said 85.2% rate of failure of meeting your goals. So emergent strategy, on the other hand, takes it and says, here's what we need to do right now. Now let's do it and see where we're at in a month. See where we're at in 2 weeks. Not there, let's change it. Let's change it again. You have a much higher percentage of hitting a profitable and right strategy if you use emergent strategy versus deliberate strategy. A digital strategy roadmap can tell you that. And don't try to look out 5 years either. The digital environment and the ecosystem changes every year. I think the iPhone 80 is coming out next week, as a matter of fact. So other pieces, demand management, design sprints, and user validation. Demand management is managing your projects. Is your organization the type that the loudest wheel and the squeakiest wheel gets the money? Or maybe the politically connected person gets the money, sort of a thing? Doesn't help your customer. Doesn't help them at all. So how do you fit demand management and CX sort of pieces inside of demand management to tell what you should be working on and when? And then how do you visualize it? You're doing design sprints to actually look at it. You're taking it out to the user and saying, what's this look like? They like raw stuff sometimes. Oh, I like this, hate that, love this. What does it do for me? Those are the kind of items we look at. And at Universal Mind, we do it all the time. So if you'd like to see an example, again, of what an interconnected digital experience is, we have an iPad table set up in our booth 4 there. Come take a look at it. We'll talk to you about it, what it is, where it's been used, what we can envision for it. You can play around. You can touch it. It's not just a looking thing. It's a touching thing. And I think you'll really enjoy it. So thanks for your time. I appreciate it.